Am I the butthole for calling my sister cruel for her tattoo idea? Sis is 28. I'm male, 26. My sis Anne has always had a strained relationship with our parents, especially my mom. I am clearly not privy to the reasons because things are fine with me and my parents. When Anne went to college, she met her creative writing professor as a freshman and they got close immediately. They would do a lot together and worked closely on a few different writing projects. Anne never specifically said this, but it was obvious to anyone who saw them interact that they had a substitute mother/daughter type relationship. Which hurt my mom a lot to see. I always thought she'd grow out of it or that the professor would move on, but 10 years later they were still very close. About a month ago the professor died unexpectedly and it devastated Anne. She was really depressed over the holidays, which of course was all in front of my mom and was a difficult reminder that Anne loved the professor as a mother way more than she ever loved my mom as a mother. She still talks to my parents and stuff and they don't fight or anything, but Anne is very distant and doesn't tell them anything about her life beyond the bare minimum. My mom tried to comfort Anne, but Anne was doing her distant thing and didn't want comfort. Something unfortunate that happened to Anne is that when she got the call that she died, she was brewing tea and in the shock of the news she spilled boiling water on her arm, which burned her kinda badly on her wrist. I think the burn was like on the borderline of 2nd and 3rd degree, and definitely still looked pretty rough during the holidays. Anne said it was especially hard because in addition to the physical pain, every time she looks at it she is reminded of the moment she found out the professor died. Which I totally get. I was on FaceTime with Anne and she said she talked to her tattoo artist friend who said that the burn should be able to heal well enough to get a tattoo over it. And then excitedly told me about her idea, which is a type of flower that the professor gave her a bouquet of for her undergrad graduation. My mom was so embarrassed that day because she didn't get Anne flowers, but the professor did, and Anne was parading them around so happy, and it was a reminder of their connection. I guess Anne and the professor exchanged these flowers for every special occasion like birthdays, etc. So now she wants to get a decent sized tattoo in a highly visible spot of something that will remind everyone of the professor. I told Anne that this seemed really cruel to my mom, who already feels cast aside and like she's in exile from Anne, and that's without the constant permanent reminder. Anne kind of scoffed and said, "I can't believe you think you have the right to tell me not to do this," called me an ass and hung up, and is still not talking to me except for a very brief text saying congrats for a promotion I just got. My parents aren't commenting. My dad said I should have just kept quiet even though he agrees, and my mom made no comment but seemed grateful I stood up for her. I feel like I was just being protective of my mom. But am I the butthole? What you have described is the golden child and the scapegoat child. You being the golden child. Anne didn't get what she needed from her own mother and was incredibly fortunate that another stepped in and took on that role. Take your blinders off and see. Ask your sister if she felt second best growing up, and be open and silent when, and to what, she tells you. Yes. You're the butthole. Edit, so many scapegoats checking in. Many hugs to you all. You're the butthole. Mind your business. Your mom being embarrassed because she forgot to buy her daughter flowers is her own damn problem. We can all tell you were mommy's golden child from this post. Your poor sister. You're the butthole. It's okay if you and your sister have different relationships with your mom. Trying to make your sister see your mom just like you do is not going to work. Am I the butthole for posting the reasons that I excluded some people from my child-free wedding? My sister got married last summer. She had a very elegant and beautiful wedding and reception planned. It was child-free. She sent gracious note to everyone who sent their regrets and thanked them for understanding her desires for her wedding and respecting them enough to RSVP in the negative. She also invited them to a party later that summer at her home if they wanted to take pictures with her and her wedding party in their fancy clothes. I thought it was well handled and classy. Several people did not understand the meaning of child-free and brought their kids anyways. One screamed through the ceremony and the mom would not leave the chapel because she did not want to cause a fuss. There were no problem extra places for them at the reception, so their parents had to share their food with them. The worst was the kid that wanted a cupcake off the table the wedding cake was on. He tipped the wedding cake onto the floor. My dad saved it, but there was a handprint on the lowest tier and a lot of cupcakes hit the floor. All in all, it was 4 families that brought uninvited children. My wedding invitations just went out over Christmas. We are getting married in May. I know this is a long time, but we have a lot of out-of-town, country, and even continent guests we hope will come. We did not invite these families to our wedding. We have a Facebook group for the wedding for people to share pictures and memories that we might put in the wedding video. They found out about the group and posted to my personal page about being excluded and asking why we are not inviting them. I messaged them privately and asked them to take down their posts and explained that my wedding was smaller and I wasn't having as many guests as my sister. They went public again and jerked about me excluding them for no good reason. So I posted the receipts. I posted a video my cousin sent me of the kid crying during the ceremony and the parents doing nothing. The video of the kid freaking out because he had to share trout for supper. The before and after pictures of the wedding cake table. And I also asked if they knew in advance that they were not supposed to bring their kids to the wedding. Then everyone started piling on. To them. I guess there was a lot of stuff I missed. Including one of them changing a kid on the table with the guest book because the closest bathroom did not have a baby station. Now they are all calling me in butthole for embarrassing them for having children and wanting to be part of family events. I said that they could not understand why rules were in place and that is why they were not invited. My uncle posted about how embarrassed he was that his daughter was one of these entitled jerks and offered to pay my sister for the cake that got wrecked. He had been unable to attend and hadn't heard about the cake. So am I the butthole? Can I get an invite to that Facebook group? I'm bored. Duh. Not the butthole. They tried to call you out publicly for making a decision about your wedding, and you just met them where they were. They sound horrible, no wonder you don't want them at your wedding. Am I the butthole for how I responded when my fiance's sister commented on my flat chest? To get this out of the way, I'm a flat-chested girl. I suffered from health issues and growth problems, so I'm small but I'm proud of myself. My fiancé and I went over to his parents' house for his niece's birthday. I wore a sweetheart-shaped dress and my sil, Mel, who always comments on my chest, saw the dress and went like, "This dress needs boobs, you ain't got any." I ignored her, but then at dinner she asked if I was planning on getting a plastic surgery before the wedding so that I don't ruin the wedding dress. I found this offensive, especially when others were watching. I said nothing, but when we were sitting in the living room later, Mel suddenly started wiping her nose and trying to clear it. It's stuffed due to cold apparently. She has a large nose, so I smiled and asked, "Do you need help with that? I could get the plunger for you." She was stunned and the room got awkward after her husband was laughing. She was fuming and told my fiancé that I stepped out of line and ruined her daughter's birthday with my words that humiliated her. My fiancé said I shouldn't have caused a scene after his parents told us to leave. I explained how her comments made me feel, but she said it was out of concern, but my comment was out of hate. Now she's exoecting an apology. Did I go too far here? Where are you women getting these men that wouldn't stand up for you against their family bullying? You might want to counter the relationship? Not the butthole, by the way. She deserved every bit that came to her. Your man is in butthole, though. An apology for what? Not the butthole. Did your fiancé actually say her comments about your chest were out of concern? I think you should postpone this engagement if that's how he really feels. Good on you for getting her back, because it's horrible for someone to comment on someone else's body. I'm sorry, what? Her comments about your flat chest are out of concern? That is an impossibly stupid defense. You are not the butthole, and also hilarious. Your partner agrees with her. Am I the butthole for ruining my friend's gender reveal? My 27 female friend, 29 female, is pregnant. She wanted to do a gender reveal, so at her 20-week ultrasound she got the ultrasound technician to write the gender on a piece of paper, put it in an envelope and gave it to me. She wanted me to order those smoke cannons for her husband and their kids to pop at a photograph session to reveal what their new baby is going to be. Personally, I don't see the point in them, but it made my friend happy and I felt honored that she trusted me with such a secret. When she handed me the envelope, she made me swear that under no circumstances I would tell her what it is, no matter how much she begged, or tell anyone else. I agreed. Fast forward, I've had this envelope for 2 weeks now. I've ordered the cannons and the gender reveal is in a few days. For the past 2 weeks my friend has hounded me with texts begging me to just tell her what it is, but then following up with actually no, I don't want to know. And it's just been going back and forth like that. The texts were annoying, but I just ignored it and understood she was just excited. But the past 3 days she had begun hounding me at work. I work an office job and I'm in and out of meetings all day. After the first day of a call into my work, I asked her to please just chill out and stop calling me at work. I reminded her that she made me promise not to tell and she'd find out soon enough. Here is where I may be the butthole. I'd been having a crappy day at work with a particular client being a giant PITA. I was stuck in a meeting with this client and the receptionist stuck her head in and said I had an urgent phone call. Thought it may have been my kid's school, so I excused myself and took the call. It was my friend again. I just snapped and told her if she wanted to know so badly it's a boy. And then I hung up the phone. My husband thinks I'm in the right because there is only so much one person can take. But our mutual friends are calling me the because I should have just kept my mouth shut. So am I the butthole? TLDR, My friend hounded me to the point I snapped and told her what gender her baby is before she could do the gender reveal. Edit 1. I've seen a few people concerned about these cannons. These aren't the same type that have caused devastation and loss of life by causing fires. They are pressurized with air and powder inside them and non-flammable, so they don't pose any fire hazard. But I completely understand and appreciate people's concern. Not the butthole. Texting you is one thing, calling you up at work is a completely different thing. She called your work phone and interrupted the receptionist and a business meeting. That is where she crossed the line fully, not that she hadn't already with the many calls. You needed to put an end to it, and you did. If she didn't want to know, she shouldn't have asked. Not the butthole. She was being a nuisance. I may be biased because I can't stand gender reveal parties, but she took obnoxious to another level. But she is being obnoxious for two after all. Not the butthole. You never call someone's workplace. Those games can get someone fired. Am I the butthole for telling my sister's BF she's lying about her age? I, female, 24, have a younger sister, Maya, 21. Maya's been dating this guy Rob, 30, for 4 months. Rob is decent guy, my boyfriend's brother knows him. He works a good paying job and owns property. Maya the other day was bragging about him, then slips in that he thinks she's 25 and a college student. Maya looks significantly older than she is, especially with makeup. I asked her why she would do that, and she said because Rob has this rule about dating girls under 25 so they're mature, and that he's a good guy who could take care of her. I told her that wasn't okay and that she wasn't being mature and had to tell the truth. After Maya left, I looked Rob up on Facebook and sent him a message basically stating I'm Maya's older sister, telling Maya's real age, that she isn't a college student, and works at a farmer's market in the town over. Later that night Maya calls me crying and cursing, calling me a huge and saying Rob broke up with her and it was all my fault. I don't think I'm the in this situation because Rob deserves to know and not get played. Not the butthole. The light bulb is never to blame for the roaches in the pantry. Not the butthole. People like your sister are probably the reason Rob has that rule. Not the butthole. Your sister is a liar and is dating him for the wrong reasons. He deserves to know. She will 100% think you are an a-hole though, so up to you if you want to live with that. Am I the butthole for using a family parking even though I don't have kids? So, I, 27 female, went to do some grocery shopping today and I'm still having a hard time processing what just happened. I am child-free, but disabled. I have a small mobility disability. I am able to walk, but need a cane to support myself. I also have regular bad pain from too much walking. I do have a disability sign for my car. So when I went shopping today, all the disabled parkings were taken. As always, mostly by people without plates. Sigh, okay. I decided to use one of those family parking spots instead, because I just can't get out of or into the car a lot of times with regular sports, especially if people park way too close to the driver's door. I didn't feel entirely comfortable, but I thought a disabled person being in need for this spot should be understandable. I was wrong. When I came back to my car, a woman in her 40s bolted at me with her kid, that was maybe like 6 years old, not in a pram or anyhow, and shouted at me, "You don't look like you got children." I was very confused but promptly figured she was upset about the parking spot. I apologized and tried to explain myself, but she kept cutting me off. Apparently she had been to the store manager demanding my car to be towed because she saw me leaving my car without children, but the employee denied, which made her even more mad. She told me she is sick of people like me being entitled to her parking spot. So, I'm here looking for honest feedback. Am I the butthole for using a spot for families because the disabled spots were all taken? Should I have waited for one to open up? Edit. Thank you all for those overwhelmingly positive posts. I needed the justification and support because I really started doubting myself. I still need to learn to actually not be afraid to voice my needs. I thank you strangers for the kindness, it cheered me up a lot after this experience. Not the butthole. This lady is an hypocrite. Those spots are not meant for parents with kids that can walk either. They are meant for pregnant women/people with babies in strollers. She is a lazy person and was mad she had to walk 10 seconds more. Not the butthole, and try not to let that woman's behavior convince you otherwise. She sounds like the entitled one. I'm very sorry this happened. I hope you have a good day regardless. Am I the butthole for sending my partner to work with a lettuce sandwich for lunch? So, my 28 male partner, 32 male, works full-time in construction. Edit, we are both men. Not that it matters, but I'm getting called she a lot. He makes decent money because he's like a supervisor guy, but he's very busy. He leaves the house by 5 a.m. every morning. I work a little doing some freelance document translation from home, but it's probably about 10 to 15 hours a week. I mainly make sure the house in order and that my partner has everything he needs, cleans clothes, packed lunch, dinner made, house stocked, etc. It's just the two of us, we don't have kids or pets. He does housework too, mainly outdoor things like lawn care or fixing anything that breaks. Anyway, I usually go grocery shopping on Fridays. So this morning I went to make his lunch, and we didn't have that much. We were out of lunch meat, so I improvised. I sent him a lettuce sandwich. It was a thick layer of iceberg lettuce, with tomato, onion, cucumber, Swiss cheese, and mayo on a large Kaiser roll bun. And then I sent a Tupperware of these seasoned, crunchy chickpeas that I make in the oven, 2 Lindor chocolate balls, and a can of flavored fizzy water. I thought it seemed like a decent lunch. Anyway, my mom used to make lettuce sandwiches when we didn't have money. Well, he texted me kind of mad. He said, "What the hell is this? It's just lettuce." I said we didn't have any meat, and I was just trying to put something together in the morning before grocery shopping. He said, "This is not a lunch. I'm going to be hungry all day now. It's fine if we didn't have anything, but just tell me and I'll order in a lunch. Now it's too late to order anything because you made me think I had an actual lunch, but it's just lettuce." In general, he's not one of those carnivore men who must eat meat at every meal, but we do usually eat meat. His job can be stressful, so I just apologized and said I'd do that next time. He didn't respond, but now 3 hours later, he just texted, "Yeah, you're sorry but you don't really know what it's like to have to do hours of physical work on an empty stomach." I didn't respond, but now I'm feeling a little annoyed with him. Like, does he really have an empty stomach? It was a lunch after all. He is pretty big, like 6 foot, 220 pounds, basically no fat on him. So maybe he does need more. I don't know. In general, I know he works very hard and I get to have a relatively stress-free life. So, I feel bad making his day harder than it has to be. But I feel like he's kind of exaggerating. Anyway, it's not going to be a big issue. And I already went to the store and am making homemade bacon double cheeseburgers and fresh cut fries for dinner, lol. But I was just wondering if it's really so bad to send a lettuce sandwich for lunch. Edit, so, the man is fed and happy, lol. I didn't bring it up or act angry or anything. I just let it go, and he did apologize on his own after dinner. He basically said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to be a jerk about lunch, but yeah, next time just let me know if we are out of meat and I'll order some food." And I just said, "Yeah, sorry about that. My brain probably wasn't fully functioning that early." And that was it. Now we are chilling on the couch together, so all good. Oh, and the people wondering why I didn't have food in the house, this man housed an entire tray of enchiladas for dinner yesterday that I was expecting to have leftovers to send for lunch today. I was gonna send that with a salad, not on bread, and some crackers, and the chocolates. That's why I was at a bit of a loss this morning. Anyway, thanks for the responses. Lots of NTAs, but UTAs from people who've actually been in my partner's situation. So, I'll just be more mindful of that going forward. Thanks all. Not the butthole. It's not a lettuce sandwich. It's a cheese salad sandwich. Not the butthole. He shouldn't be taking this out on you. You prepared him a lovely, hearty vegetarian meal. A couple slices of ham aren't gonna change the impact of that meal overly much. He's being a baby and owes you an apology. You need to apologize or I won't be making your lunches going forward. But, it was a cheese sandwich? I mean, a cheese sandwich with a bunch of bonus stuff, but still. I have had so many cheese sandwich lunches in my life. I think you could have let him know you'd packed him a cheese sandwich, if he normally has meat sandwiches. But not the butthole on packing a perfectly normal lunch of a cheese sandwich. No buttholes here. I agree that the lunch was tiny for someone who works construction. That job is extremely physically demanding and most people I know who do this kind of work eat big lunches because it makes you very hungry. So yes, you did not give him enough food but you didn't do it intentionally. His reaction was a bit over the top, but I get it. In the moment when you're very hungry and are looking forward to a nice lunch, it's a shock to discover you have a lot less than you expected. Just ask him how much he needs for lunch and take this to heart. Am I the butthole for abruptly quitting my volunteer work with pelicans? I study zoology in university, and as part of our degree we're supposed to get a certain amount of field experience. Also, most good zoos, animal internships demand it. So when our ornithology professor mentioned a volunteer opportunity with pelicans through some local group, I thought that sounded cool and I signed up, and was one of 2 students chosen. It was supposed to be us two and a professional helping to band young pelicans for research, where you slip a little band around their ankle that's unobtrusive to the birds but useful for tracking purposes. So the three of us got out to the island, for a long day of pelican banding. The professional showed us how to do it and how to deal with an uncooperative pelican, and then I gave it a try on one and did it right, but then the third pelican I tried it on vomited all over me as I was doing it. I let it go and started gagging, and felt really nauseated. My whole lap and shirt were covered in it and the smell was horrendous. I just sat there retching and trying to wipe it off but to not much avail. After a few minutes the professional said, "Hey, come on, we've got a lot more to do, I've been puked on 2 already, nothing to worry about." But I said no, I'm not going to go get puked on 10 more times today while doing this, I can't handle that. He got annoyed and said, "Really, you're going to leave 3 people's work with just 2 people for the day?" We said it would be messy work, I thought, well, not this messy. So I just sort of sat there for a few hours while they worked and tried to distract myself from my vomit-stained shirt with my phone until it was time to leave. The trip back was hell too, they both stunk so bad I couldn't take it. Needless to say my professor is mad at me but I'm not sure what I was supposed to do. I would have gotten sick myself if I kept at it, so I feel like I did the best I can. Am I the butthole? You're the butthole. And probably in the wrong field. Maybe switch to paleontology, no puking when they're fossilized. As a longtime zookeeper/manager, this brings me back to the annoyances we deal with the interns every summer. No, you can't take a 30-minute break and shower because you slipped in bear poop, just hose it and keep going. Yes, I know you stink, I promise you none of us mind. Yes, you do have to clean that mess up, yes I know it's all oily and you can smell the fish in it, that is how an otter works. We used to show a bit more patience but with how saturated the field is and how many newcomers want a shot at it, our policy now has basically become that if someone complains about something being gross, give them the most horridly vile tasks imaginable each day until they get over it or quit. Basically every time they quit, in attitude if not on paper. You're the butthole. Also most good zoos, animal internships demand it. Wait, you want to work at a zoo? Do you have any idea how bad zoo work stinks? Or how little patience they have for the "it's too gross for me" stuff. You're the butthole. You're the butthole. You were there being stinky all day anyway, but instead of being useful, you messed around on your phone. The whole point of field work is to show you what doing the job in the real world would look like. Sounds like you've found out that you are studying the wrong field and need to adjust your sails. Am I the butthole for being racist to my son's girlfriend? I, 39 male, have a son, 17 male, who recently got a girlfriend. His girlfriend is black and a very nice, kind and beautiful young lady. I have met her and invited her for dinner and family events plenty of times and she's a joy to be around. But recently my mother has been staying with us because she is recovering from a surgery she had and she's going on 70 years old so she can't do much on her own. Long story short, my mother is a classic racist and being a raging narcissist and she is not one to hold back from her opinions. I showed her a photo of my son and his girlfriend and she went on a 2-hour rant about bloodlines and kept saying they don't look right, and when I said she was coming to dinner she said doesn't want the girl near her because it'll disturb her, so last minute I told her she could not come. My son has been trying to invite his girlfriend over every day since, but I said no multiple times due to his grandmother being here and her saying she doesn't want her near her. I just don't want any problems. But he argues that I am being a complacent racist by even allowing her to be here. And even more so for not allowing her to come over to protect a racist. He says I should have told her to leave the moment my mother said all that stuff. But my mother is an elderly woman who can hardly make it on her own as it is. Definitely much harder after surgery. Though I don't agree with her, I can just leave her to fend for herself. I literally do not know what to do. My wife says my son is right about me being complacent, but of course she'd agree because her and my mother don't get along well. I know I am not a damned racist. But now everyone is saying I am aiding one by taking my mother's side. So am I the butthole? Edit. Hello everyone, last night I posted this after me and my son argued over this all day and my wife is giving me the silent treatment. I can really reply to anyone because the moderators locked this post. I woke up this morning with thousands of notifications. I just posted this thinking maybe 20 people would reply. The messages and comments are overwhelming. But I will answer everything as best as I can. Firstly, no, I cannot afford to put my mother in a home. I'm not rich and I'm not poor, but I do have 3 children I need to provide for and my wife. The savings I have I won't spend on anything but their college funds. And my mother definitely doesn't have the money to afford those homes. She lives by herself, with me and younger my sister occasionally going over a few times a week to help her. This situation is just special because she had benign tumor removed. If I could have, I would have had her stay with my sister, but my sister is pregnant and very soon to go into labor. So I offered her to stay. She is a difficult person to be around, but she's my mother and she still has about 7 more weeks until she's able to go back to being on her own. Second, I have no problem with my son's girlfriend. I actually would be happy if he chose to settle down with her in the future. I want to welcome her in my home. She had been coming over and basically a part of the family for months now up until this. And now my son says she thinks we don't want her around anymore. I can see why people are saying I am the butthole after reading through. I still am unsure how to go about this still. People are saying I should invite her over and tell my mom that she will not say anything out of the norm to her or else I'll send her off. But people are also saying I should not bring her over, knowing it's a possibility that my mother will do something anyway. Kicking my mother to curb for now is not an option, but I will privately tell his girlfriend the situation and ask her what she would like to do and make arrangements from there. Also, people are calling my son and off for wanting her to come over because of this. I am okay with being criticized on here, but please do not shame my son. I think he is just getting anxious because him and her don't go to the same school, and the only way they see each other at my house because my son says her father is very overprotective and intimidates him every time he goes to her house. I do understand I was going about this in a very easy way by just doing what my mother says for the time being because I did not want to start drama. But she is the bad guy in the situation and she is the one who needs to change, and I should not be accommodating her prejudiced ways, and my son or his girlfriend should not have to suffer because of her. Thanks for all the advice. Hey OP. Your wife doesn't agree with your son because she doesn't get along well with your mother. She agreed with him because he was right. Story time. I am half black, my mother is white and my stepfather, I'll call him Dad, is white. While visiting my dad's dying grandfather in the hospital, one of my dad's uncles made some extremely racist comments. My dad started arguing with him, because well, we are his daughter and you don't talk about this man's daughters like that. Out of nowhere Grandpa shoots up, gets out his hospital bed while his monitors are going crazy, walks over and punches my dad's uncle so hard he fell on his ass. Grandpa proceeded to say that he would rather die, right then and there, than watch someone he loves be so incredibly racist to such loving, kind children. Grandpa kicked that uncle out the room and that man wasn't allowed back in. And Grandpa made everyone promise not to let him go to his funeral. OP, that's what you said your son's girlfriend is. She is nice and kind, yet you are 100% allowing your mother say whatever she wants and saying your son's girlfriend isn't allowed over because of this. This girl has done nothing and will remember this for a long time. You are punishing your son and his girlfriend because your mother is racist. Edit, you're the butthole. You're the butthole. My mother is so elderly and feeble that she will go on 2-hour rants about how much she's a proud bigot. Man, I never even went on a 2-hour squealing when I got Pokemon for the first time. Your son is right, you'd rather defend your bigot mother rather than go, hey, shut up and get over it. Definitely you're the butthole. Sorry, but protecting a racist does make you complacent and enabling this behavior. You have no gumption to get her to leave, and 70 isn't old, she can get in home care. I would send her racist ass packing. So your mother, who is in your house, gets to say who can and cannot come to your house because they will disturb her. Your son and wife is right. You are just as guilty as your mother. You are a complacent racist and enabling your mother's bigot behavior. Your mother can stay and eat in her room. She doesn't get to dictate who comes into your house. Grow a pair. And if it wasn't obvious, you're the butthole.